Hello, everyone. My name is Emmanuel, and you can call me Mr. E, and I'm a community program specialist with the San Mateo County Libraries. In today's activity, I'd like to invite you to learn more about different shapes and their properties. Raise your hand if you ever partitioned or divided a shape into the equal shares before. And if you haven't, that's okay. It's a safe space where everyone can feel welcome and learn. If you'd like to watch other videos like these, don't forget to visit our library webpage at www.smcl.org. All right, let's continue. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to learn about how shapes can be divided into equal shares. Those can be described as half of the whole shape. And if we divide a shape into three equal parts, one of the shares is called a third, two shares are two-thirds, and the whole can be described as three-thirds. Additionally, if a shape is divided into four equal parts, those four shares can be described as quarters. One share is called one-fourth of the whole shape. Two shares will be half of two-fourths. The whole shape can be described as fourths, four-fourths. But before we begin, let's get our energy flowing by doing a fun brain energizer. The name of the game we're going to play is called Jump, Skip, Counting. And this is how you play. You need to get up from your chair and stand next to it. I'll give you 10 seconds to do this safely. Great. Now I'm going to give you a number, and we are going to skip count with every jump you make. And if you're unable to stand or jump in the space that you're in, you can just do the motion of jumping in your chair. Ready? Great. All right, so we're gonna skip count by threes 5 times. Again, we're gonna skip by skip by threes 5 times. Ready? Set, go. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. All right, you guys are doing great. Okay. The next number we're going to skip count is by fives. We're going to do that 5 times. Ready? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. All right, looks like you're getting the hang of it. Let's do the last one. We're going to skip count by twos 6 times. Ready? 1, 2, 4. Now let's do the next one. 6, 8, 10, 12. Great job, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the activity. Now we're going to be diving in the activity. Today, we're going to be using a couple of materials, including craft foam, which is this one, to partition circles and rectangles into 2, 3, and 4 equal shares, and then build different shapes with them. We're also going to be needing some scissors, we're needing some tape. I'm going to be using some of the materials that you received, which is the templates that you received. Here we have a circle made up of triangles, and then we have a bunch of smaller triangles that can be used to make different types of shapes. Great. Now, before we continue, I want you to close your eyes and take a moment and picture a circle in your mind. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and I want you to think about what the shape look like and what are some of the properties that it has. Remember, you have to have your eyes closed so that you can imagine what a circle looks like and what are some of the properties. 15 seconds left. Great. Now I want you to imagine a square for 30 more seconds. So close your eyes and imagine a square. And really think about how it looks and what some of the things that you notice about that shape. Okay, 30 seconds starting now. Fifteen more seconds. All right, that was 30 seconds. Next, we're going to imagine a triangle. Imagine a triangle. So remember, close your eyes and picture a triangle. Again, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Fifteen more seconds. All right, time's up. Can you share what some of the different traits you noted about the different shapes? Turn to the person next to you, if your brother, your parent, grandparent, or adult is with you. Share that with them, and if no one is around, you can also write down some of your ideas. I'm going to go ahead and give you a minute to share or write down these ideas, starting now. Okay, 30 more seconds. Fifteen more seconds. And it's time. I bet that you came up with important details about the shapes. You probably wrote down that some of the sides measure the same size. Some don't have any corners, such as a circle, and some don't even have the same shape. Great job. I hope you enjoyed the activity. All right, so we're going to start getting ready to do the project or the activity. And these are some of the materials that you're going to be needing. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen with you. All right, so here are the materials that we're going to be using for the Math in Bath activity. So we're going to be needing some foam sheet. I'm going to need some tape. I'm also going to be needing some scissors. I showed you the shape template that we will be using. And we can use a ballpoint pen or dull pencil. And since it does require a little bit of practice, you're going to need an adult help. All right, before we start working on this, I'm going to go over a few vocabulary words that I want you to keep in mind. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen right now. So here they are. So again, the activity is called Math in Bath. No bath required. I am Mr. E, and some of the vocabulary that I want you to keep in mind are the following. Equal, which means the same size. So if you think about your shoe is the same size as the other. Shares or parts is a piece of something such as a shape. the word whole, which is the entire or the complete shape. If you think about the template that we were using earlier, this is the whole circle. We also have the word halves or half, which are two equal parts or one piece of two equal parts. All right. We have quarters and fourths, which are four equal parts or one share of four equal parts. We also have the word square, which I'm sure you know, but it's a shape with four equal sides and four right angles. Remember how we were doing the activity and you were writing some of the important things? You might have written that the square has four equal sides and that they have right angles. Circle is a round shape where any point on the outside is the same distance from the point to the center. And the next word is triangle, which is a shape with three straight sides and three angles. But remember, a square has four right angles, triangles only have three angles. All right. All right, so the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to take the template paper that you received. We're going to be cutting around the shape. You can leave a little bit of white space around it so that you can tape outside of it, outside of the lines, onto the foam paper. So in this template, we have one that is a circle, and then the other one that is the circle that is made up of bigger triangles, and then we have also triangles that make up small squares. And we're also going to cut around them. So I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing you want to do, you make sure that you grab some scissors. You want to be very careful so that you don't hurt yourself or you don't cut yourself. If you need some help, you can definitely ask an adult to help with the cutting piece, and then you can help. You can do the rest of it. So I'm just going to cut around it as such. Remember what I said earlier, that you want to leave a little bit of white around your shape so that you can tape it to the foam that we're going to be using. So here's the first example. Now here's the second one. Remember to take your time when you're doing this. It doesn't have to be super fast. I'm showing a little bit fast just because we have a time limit. So you don't want to rush it because you don't want to cut into the shape that we see. So again, after you do those steps, you should have two different shapes. This one is triangles that make up the circle. And then the second one, you have smaller triangles that make up squares that are going to be used for the activity. Okay, so this is what it should look like after you finish cutting. Now the next thing is to take the foam and we are going to place the cutout that we have on top of it, like so. And we're going to take the tape and we're going to put tape on it so that it stays in place, so that when you press in with the dull pencil or pen, you can go ahead and leave a dent in the foam. So I'm taking some scissors. I'm going to be cutting small pieces of tape, like so. And I'm going to be placing this on the corner and then putting the tape down so that it holds it in place. Oh, you can see that. I'm going to take another small piece about this size. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the tape here. Here's another piece. Like so. So the idea is for you to put enough tape so that it can stay in place. Okay? So you have to put all around it. It's just put enough of it so that the circle does not move when you press in with your pen when you're trying to make a dent on the picture, on the phone. Okay, now I'm going to start with the second one. Yeah, here's another piece. I'm going to put it over here so you can see it. Okay. Okay. And if you mess up, that's okay. Sometimes, you know, when I was doing this, my tape was going all over the place. Sometimes I have to pick up the paper and replace it on the phone. So remember, mistakes are okay. We learn from them and we try something different if something didn't work. Like right now, you know, sometimes I lose the end of the tape. So I have to re-find it. It's take a little bit of time, patience. So you definitely want to remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes when you're doing this. All right, so these are the two templates that we're going to be using. Then the next step. All right, so using your pen or dull pencil, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting pressure down. You might hear like a crack, and that's okay. When you press down, you want to press with enough pressure so that you can leave a dent in the foam. Don't worry if the foam gets some ink or that you rip the paper when you're pressing in. Okay. I'm just going to do a few examples just for the sake of time so that you can see. And I am going to show you what it should look like after you go around the entire circle, making those pressure dents. You know, the first time I was doing it, I thought I was messing it up because the paper was being ripped. But then I noticed that sometimes if you don't put enough pressure, the dent is not visible. So when you're trying to cut the foam, because remember the paper is just going to be here for a little bit so that they can help us make the lines or the dents. But then after we finish doing the dents, we're going to remove the paper and we're going to start cutting the foam. So if you don't put enough pressure, you're going to run into the problem of not knowing where the line is so that you can continue cutting or even start making the first cut. So I'm going to show you real quick. So you can see that the paper is a little bit ripped from the pressure that I'm putting. You can see also that because of the tape that we put in, you know, the circle is not going to go anywhere. And if you see if I can open a little bit wide on that white edge, but you can see that, you know, even if it's ripped, like the ink of the pen that you may be using, that's going to help with making sure that you know where to cut. Now I'm going to show you the two previous templates that I was using, and after they're removed, some of the triangles are going to, you know, break apart because of the pressure that you put in it. So this is what it looks like after you go through the entire shape and trace it, so that you start getting the smaller shares that we have here. All right, here's the second template that I was using. You can see that some of it fell apart, from all the pressure that I was putting in. Now, even though you may seem like, that this one, a lot of it came out, I'm going to show you the actual foam and how the lines were traced or being traced. You can see that even though part of the template was falling apart, on some of the sections, we still don't quite see where the line is. So what I would recommend is to use your pen or pencil and trace over it so that you have a better line when you start cutting. I'm going to do a few so that you can see. The dent is already here, but if you trace it a little more, the lines are going to become more visible and you're going to have an easier time cutting through them. All right. There's that. There's another one. I'm just going to do a few so you can see what difference it makes. So remember how we were talking earlier on making mistakes? Not that you made a mistake, but it does look a little better if you use your pencil or your pen to go over the shape again before you do the cutting. Here's another paper that you might have received. Basically it shows when shapes are cut into different shares, how you can use those shares to make half of a shape. So for example, here, using the triangles, they are cutting this circle in half, and it shows how many triangles make up half of the shape. So in this case, we would call this, 1/2, if it's the whole thing, or 1 out of the 2. Here you have 4/4, and here you have 1/3. So this is the 4 pieces that the shape is cut into, and this is the 3. And this would be like, cut into 1/3. So I'm going to show you an example of using the triangles that we had earlier to make a few of these. All right, so here are the triangles that I was able to cut earlier. So after you cut them out, you should end up with 12 triangles. It's okay if you have a little bit of pen marking. What I did earlier when I was doing the activity, I was just turning it around or turning it to the other side. All right, so we're going to start with the easier one, which is the one that has the halves. So using our triangle, smaller triangle or bigger triangles, we're going to be creating the whole shape. So what we're doing is putting all of the pieces together. Remember that there's 12 triangles that make up the entire shape. So if you think about, if the entire shape is made up of 12 and you want to cut it in half, if you want to get half of the shape, you can take half of 12. So here's the whole. And don't worry if it doesn't fit perfectly. It's okay. You can also try doing this in a small container of water, and since it's foam, it's going to be floating. I think we have, a pretty good example here of the hole. So let's start with that. And if we want to cut this in half, we're going to take half of 12, which is 6, and we're going to separate those 6 from the hole to create a new half of the whole shape. And this can be expressed as in half of the whole, or 1 out of 2 make up. 1 out of 2 is 1/2, or if you want to do the 12 triangles make up the entire square, so half of those, which in this case would be 6, would make up half of the shape, or half of the circle. Next, we're going to take the same approach where we're putting it all together, make the hole again, and we're going to be doing or breaking this, partitioning, that's the word that we want to use, partition, this into thirds, which is this one. So again, if there were 12 and we're breaking this into thirds, then that says that we're going to have 3 different groups of triangles. In this case, each of the triangles, in the last one, half had 6, and on this one, it's going to have 4 for 1/3, so that we can cut the shape or partition the shape into thirds. So it might get a little tricky, but we're doing our best with this. So here we have thirds. If we look at this section, this would be 1 out of the 3 parts that make up the whole. So this is 1/3 of the shape. This is 2/3 of the shape. Or if you want to name the entire shape, it'd be 3/3 make up the whole. Got it? Awesome. So if you remember from earlier, this is the template that we're going to be using to cut out the smaller squares, or the smaller triangles that make up the squares. These are some of the activities or templates that you can do to break something into fourths or thirds using the smaller triangles. I don't think we have enough time to cut out and then show you that. But these are included. Additionally, we do have also some puzzles or tangram puzzles that you can solve using these shapes. And not all of the shapes are going to be needed. So here this says that puzzles do not use all the foam pieces, but these are some really nice activities that you can do with your child as you start learning a little more about how shapes can be broken into their shares and how those shares represent a half or a third or even a fourth of the shape. So here's this one activity. You don't have to do all of them, but you can do this as a challenge. You can do one each week with your child so they can continue practicing. All right, so it looks like I'm finished. If you're still working on yours, that's okay. Keep on going. As always, if you want to continue exploring at home, please visit our website, or you can get yourself a library card, which is free. One thing I'd like to remind you before I go is to sign up for the Summer Learning Challenge. which it started on June 1st. Here's the information. So don't forget to join the Summer Learning Challenge, where you can earn a chance to win a $1,000 scholarship. Details can be found on www.summerlearners.org. And if you'd like to share your experiment pictures, please use the hashtag SMCL Creates, or you can tag us at SMC Libraries. Thanks very much, and see you next time.